Here we go. 6 topics, 6 beers. Number 1, Matt, I saw that you posted on 9 to 10's Facebook page the other day. Now, the story from 9 and 10, it was that Black Lives Matter movement was nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. And your comment showed up as a preview. And it basically said, what did it say? Because I can't remember right off the top of my head.
It's like I knew it, and I shouldn't even have opened it because it was like a race to the lowest common denominator of humanity.
Yeah. So I see your comment, and I immediately click on it. I'm like, I want to go see. Yeah. Then I said, why would I do that? No. That's a warning. You warned us not to go in there.
So don't do it.
So, but the idea of 6 packs on Mars and just keeping the conversation going, it's like, how do I get off having the audacity to do something like that, but I don't want to go in and engage on social media conversations and social media drama. Like, is there a way to have a productive conversation on social media?
Oh, boy. I don't know. I haven't found it. I mean, I feel like it's that's one of the challenge. I mean, not to be too not to overstate it, but I feel like that's one of the biggest questions we're all dealing with right now. That tool is just there's too much. It's like mob think, you get that anonymity and people. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's what I call keyboard commandos.
How do you guys process that kind of stuff?
It's tough for me, especially being working at 9 and 10. I stopped reading the 9 and 10 Facebook page years ago just because it was so toxic. I mean, that's the key word. It can be toxic. Now there are people that will vouch for you.
Toxic is the key word.
There's people that will vouch for you and really kind of set people in their space. But the problem is it's keyboard commandos, as I call them. There's people that will feel the safest behind their computer screen and keyboards and let loose. Now, if you're talking somebody on your friends list that maybe posts something that you might want to put your input on, then you can have a civil conversation, back and forth, a debate. But it's not going to be nearly as toxic as like somebody just jumping in the pool, be like, all right, Cannonball, watch this. It's going to be waves, like especially in Northern Michigan. I love everybody in Northern Michigan, but sometimes the views can be so extreme, both left and right, that it's just no way home. Like you can't say anything without somebody like fighting it to death. Like there's just no way.
And it's hard to not react to it because a lot of it is not like you've got this concept of like bad, some of it's just bad faith stuff. It's trolls.
Yeah.
It's like people are just looking for a response, which I'm guilty of on occasion too. I guess the way to kind of that I address it now is I've kind of found this pocket where I even put it in all my social media. I put it up right up front. Like, I'm a comedian. This is all jokes. And I've actually kind of gotten to the point now where if I'm going to put a serious post on there, I'll actually put a disclaimer and say, hey, this is a serious post. Like, I've gone full Bizarro World on it and been like, these are all jokes. And I'll even I'll point to the description. I'm like, no, this is a whole thing is just it's just, me screwing around. But even that, can be a little crazy. It's hard not to engage personally. It's hard for it not to. It's hard to not engage personally, I guess is the thing.
Is it? Do you have what I have, and it's like a real naive kind of like thing where I'm like, all you have to do is talk sense to people. All you have to do is make sense.
Yes.
In my head, it seems really simple, but it's not realistic, and I fall into it every single time.
And the thing that is also, I think, a bigger issue is that I feel like we're conditioned, and I'm really bad about social. Like, I'll get off there for a month at a time sometimes, which I probably do for that again. But we're conditioned to. I mean, Facebook, you open it up and it literally says, "What's on your mind?" Like, what are your opinions? And that implies that anybody cares. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that implies that people want to hear it. And then we just get into this kind of weird funhouse mirror of everybody's opinions. Ben Max has got a great take on this about how, everybody's on there talking like experts about stuff they don't know anything about, And it just creates this weird, it's just a weird community of ideas that, I don't even know. It's just polarizing. It's so polarizing.
It really is very it is very odd, especially nowadays. Like I remember when Facebook first started and it was just me and my college buddies. And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool way to keep in touch with high school friends. And then when it opened the door to anybody, like it was just like, oh wow, okay. And you see different points of views and that's really cool. It's very worldly, it's very opening to see the other people's point of views, but
Sure.
then you start taking offense to some stuff. And like I was guilty of it when I first started, getting into, or when Facebook opened up to everybody. It was a personal attack. And it was like, all right, you need to realize this isn't a personal attack. It's literally someone's point of view.
Yeah.
And then I have the same thing every time I read a post, like Nate does. I was like, are you serious? Like, let's common sense this real quick.
Yeah, let's run this through facts.
Yeah, like, okay, imagine as a kid growing up, like, do you really want to spew that hate? Like, when was the last time you wanted to be treated like an asshole? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, there are some powerful ad campaigns that I've seen that are it's basically taking people's posts that they make online and reading them to another, like face to face to another person.
Yeah.
Which is that dynamic, and that's all that has an effect. I can't remember who did that ad campaign, but it was a really powerful one where it's like, would you say this stuff to a person? No, of course you wouldn't.
No,
right?
But it's getting to the point where you will. It's so much more brazen in person now. Yeah. Like I honestly feel like
somebody made the analogy that that thing that happened on the 6th, the storming of the Capitol was basically a Facebook comment section in real life.
Yeah,
it really was. That is exactly how it was.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember who made that. That wasn't mine, but somebody came up with that analogy. It's like that's perfect. It's like nobody thinks that there's consequences. You can just do and say whatever you want, and then here we are.
And that's what a lot of people really don't realize too, is like, they're like, you're taking my free speech away. Why did you suspend my account? Like, it's a company, man. There's rules that you have to play by. And even when you do have freedom of speech, the things you say, you have to be ready for consequences.
I mean, I guess I agree to that to an extent, but like, it's like, why isn't the same thing said about NBC? Like, it's a company and you don't have to watch it. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's ultimately it's media. I am just 100% not behind like any sort of censorship at all. I can't deal with like this. We'll get into it later in the podcast, but it's like there's this new kind of almost burning books thing that I just have a hard time with.
Cancel culture,
yeah.
There's personal responsibility. We were talking about this the other day. I put a joke up about The Weeknd, his halftime performance, on all social media, and somebody was like, "It was a good show." I'm like, "What? It's a joke, dude. There's 300 or 359 other degrees that you can be looking at other than your phone right now. Like, just don't look at it. Like it's you know what I mean? It's like there is some personal responsibility, and I have to remember that I have a role in that too. When stuff offends me, Bill Burr says it perfectly. It's like everything, everybody loves laughing along with it and enjoying it until it's something that clicks to you personally, and then it's like, oh, I can't deal.
100%.
Now I'm offended.
That's exactly what it is. And that's the biggest thing that I thought too, is like when you look at the cancel culture, if you will, like it's just something that, like you said, was the burning of the books now. It's something very odd in the fact that there's so much, I don't want to say misinformation, but the thing is, it's not what it used to be. Like when I was a kid growing up in the 90s, like you throw back to Dan Rather, he would give you the news from a very central point of view, and you would take what it was and, kind of form what you took it as. Right. But now it's a lot of things are giving it to you in a different form, and you either agree with it or you don't agree with it, so you go somewhere else. It's no longer a whole forming type of deal, and I'm saying this from a mass site, not so much local, but from a mass site.
Oh, it's just like, I don't understand. There's like this thing now where you either have to agree with it or not. You have to say if you agree with it or disagree with it. It's whether it's social media or anything. I agree with that, or I did. It's literally saying those words, and I'm like, this didn't happen before.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to agree on facts.
No.
Yeah.
Alternative facts, brother.
The other interesting thing that's happening, though, that I'm seeing, which is very clever, it's a very clever spin, is people are using cancel culture. For example, when Trump was kicked off Twitter, they're saying that's cancel culture.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, that assumes that you've got the right to that platform. Like, he didn't abide by the way that they set up their user agreement, which is a bigger question.
Yeah.
How much, that's a whole separate thing, but was he really canceled? I mean, he can go yell in the park if he wants.
Oh, no, he has not been canceled. He has so many ways to go in front of people, to get his whatever it is out there. He's got so many ways.
Yeah, it's a weird phenomenon where people are starting to, claim victimhood of cancellation when they're not really. Like, it's just this weird, like, it turns into a buzzword now. Like I can't go into Costco and scream at the staff all day. They're going to ask me to leave.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I can't say, well, Costco just canceled me. No, they just asked you to leave. You can't play nice with the other kids.
Exactly. But the thing is, to me,
So
there's like no middle of the road anymore. It's like almost extremes anymore. Like,
Yeah.
and I get that's what sells, and I get, like, when you have a headline like clickbait. There's a lot of clickbait nowadays because that's what they need. They need the clicks. They need the eyeballs.
Yeah.
But, like, there's nothing that really is middle of the road anymore. Just what happened to common sense? That's my thing. Growing up in northern Michigan, like, you saw both sides of the road for the most part. And, like, when you travel, you see other sides of the road, and you're just like, oh, cool. You get to choose and pick, and you have the freedom of thinking. And some people choose the side of the road. But for the most part, the majority of the country should always be, or has tended to be, a middle of the road. But now it's just like,
really
pick a side or die.
The whole idea that the clickbait concept that people, that's how the revenue model works, is on clicks.
Right.
And like, there will be organizations that go out of their way to force a story through their channel if it's controversial, right? It won't even necessarily be in their wheelhouse, but they just got to get on the front, It's like the Bernie memification of America, that if it's hot, they're just going to grab it and push it through their channel. And that's unfortunately become the competition now. It's like everybody's competing for the ad dollars, that's a dangerous. It's a lot of this is, there's big things at play here, and one of them I think is how capitalism has really affected the messages that we receive. And I'm not saying we should switch to state media or anything, but it's like, how do you fix that? How do you fix a scenario where news stations and information outlets are competing for the same ad dollars as, like, Everybody Loves Raymond is?
I don't know. That's I think that's a good question for the next podcast.
Yeah.
Mark that. We'll set that aside for the next podcast.
Is that our 10 minutes?
We're getting close.